He likes 240 characters, so you may have seen something on Twitter. This is what he wrote. Leakin, with interesting, seemingly accurate grammar, James Comey must have set a record for who lied the most to Congress in one day. His Friday testimony was so untruthful. This whole deal is a rigged fraud, capitalized inexplicably, headed up by dishonest people who would do anything so that I could not become president. They are now exposed. Now, I don't want you to just react to that, but just tell me about being Jim Comey, where people snicker when you say they thought I was in the tank for Hillary, and then Donald Trump attacks you after you testify truthfully and under, no one lies to Congress except, well, I guess except Michael Cohen, and we don't know who else. But what is it like to see this and still sort of be the guy that has a bum rap on the Hillary email scandal?
My reaction to it is actually disturbing to me, which is kind of, there he goes again. I thought I was lying, James Comey, now I'm leaking James Comey. But I kind of shrug and sometimes smile and laugh about it. And then I have a secondary reaction, which is to be horrified at my own numb reaction, right? We have to remind ourselves, the President of the United States of America is publicly announcing that people are committing crimes, they should be in jail, private citizens. That's not okay. And if we become numb to it, we risk surrendering the norm. And I've said this to a lot of Republicans. I've said, let me ask you all a question. If the next president of the United States is a Democrat and wakes up in the morning, God forbid, but wakes up in the morning and starts tweeting that there ought to be criminal investigations of the current Republican leadership of Congress and naming names of people who should be in jail, what's your reaction going to be? And I said, don't answer that. Your head's going to explode. So why is it not exploding now? This is about what our country stands for.
Well, let's not, I mean, part of normalizing all the conduct is rushing through it. So let's not rush through what you just said. He accused you of a serious crime, lying to Congress, and there are no consequences. Does that mean the Justice Department is fully functional? Or, I mean, what does that mean? That no one can pick up the phone and say that, Mr. President, you just accused the former FBI director of a felony?
Well, the people who can hold him accountable for that is us. That's not the Department of Justice's job, that's our job, not to become numb to it, and to stand up and participate in holding him accountable to those norms. I think of the American voting population as a giant bell curve. At the wings are where the wing nuts are, and in the middle is mostly people who are unengaged. That giant is awakening because of things like this, and we have to continue to awaken the giant. So we're going to have an election in now less than 2 years. Mm-hmm. We must hold him accountable. And it's not a Republican thing or it's a Democratic thing. It's an American thing, because this is unacceptable behavior for the leader of our country. It's not anybody else's job but ours.
I want to ask you about the substance of his tweets, because it's been reported now that Special Counsel Mueller is, and I want to ask you about your comments about Mueller, is looking at the president's tweets and laying them over what his investigation has revealed about his private conduct around some of the flashpoints in the obstruction of justice investigation, which includes your firing and the things he said to you about the investigation into Mike Flynn. When he tweets leakin', lying, is he tampering with a witness? You're a witness?
I'm a witness, potentially. Yeah, I don't know how the special counsel thinks about it, but if I were a prosecutor and a public figure started attacking the credibility of one of my witnesses in a pending investigation, that's something that I would look at very closely.
Wow. I mean, so if you were the U.S., I want to play this out. If you were the U.S. Attorney for the Southern District and a high-profile person were tweeting praise for someone like Roger Stone, who refused to cooperate, praise for Corsi, who ripped up his plea agreement with Mueller, praise for Manafort, who we now know lied to Mueller and had his cooperation agreement torn up, what would you do?
I would want to understand whether this amounted to a violation of the witness tampering or obstruction of justice statutes. I'm not prepared to judge it, but again, if I were prosecuting a case in the Southern District of New York and a prominent person started attacking my witnesses, I'd want to know, so what's going on there? And has that crossed the line from free speech, which we have to keep protected, into something else? And again, I'm not judging it, it would catch my attention.
Well, as a witness, when he tweets these things at you, do you ever feel intimidated?
I don't, but that's not an element of the statute. It's not about how I feel, it's about an endeavor to tamper with a witness, to intimidate a witness, or to obstruct justice. I've had enough of this nonsense that, like I said, my reaction is, oh God.
So
But that's not an element
So
of
if
the
the
offense.
legal standard doesn't include how it makes you feel, what other purpose would his tweets attacking you as a witness have other than to intimidate you? I mean, is it clear that that's the intent?
I don't know. I can't see from the outside, just like when people ask me, did he obstruct justice, in asking me to drop, they're telling me to drop the Michael Flynn investigation. I can't answer for sure because I can't see the other evidence that reflects on his state of mind, which I could imagine would be complicated evidence, but it is, it requires a view that I can't see. But if I were a prosecutor, I'd want to understand what that evidence might be.
I mean, let me just be, do you think he's in a lot of trouble right now on the obstruction of justice question? Because it sounds like his tweets may amount to a clear intent to obstruct. They may amount to witness tampering. And we're learning more every day that is opaque to us from the two investigations, the Southern District and the Mueller probe.
I don't know. I can't tell for two reasons. First, I'm a witness, and so I just have one limited vantage point. And second, Bob Mueller and his people have done this like total pros. And so literally everything they've done has surprised us when they've had a court filing. That's the way it's supposed to be. So I know, I think your extraordinary commentator, analyst Chuck Rosenberg once said,